Yeah. Hey, folks,
Hello.
thanks for talking. Thanks for checking out the BAMF podcast tonight. I'm your host, Mike Lafferty. Here is your co-host, Jacob Blackman, and we're here to talk about what is it we're talking about, Jacob?
Today we're here to talk about the Transformers 1 film. And yeah, this movie is something that a lot of Transformers fans have been asking for a while. A Transformers film that is not human centric and in fact talks a lot about the origins of the characters and the Great War, which is the main story of the Transformers. So yeah, this is a film long time in coming and highly anticipated. And in my opinion, as one of the original Transformers fans from the 1980s, it does not disappoint.
That is a good setup. Before we dive into it, let's mention our good friend Chuck Rice is having some heart problems. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a fan of RPGs. And you probably played something that Chuck wrote. The Blood and series in D20 Boom, that was Chuck. Vigilance Press for several years. Their Icons products, Masterminds products, Darwin's World. He was a contributing writer on ETU for Pinnacle. So Chuck's all over the place. He needs your help. He's having some heart problems. tinyurl.com/ChuckHeart. You can help our friend Chuck. He's a good guy. He deserves it. And
it's his birthday.
It's his birthday. He's 25.
He's 56, but
All right, I got that Indiana grade school math. But yeah. Hey guys, before getting further, here is our intro. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That assures you that this is a high quality, high production values podcast. Only the finest, ethically sourced geeky conversation for you podcast listening pleasure. You know, Jacob, the most popular podcast in the world right now?
I honestly couldn't say.
Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and number 3 as of this week, the Hawk Tua girl.
Okay.
That's our competition, buddy.
There's a lot of competition out there because there's a lot of people doing podcasts, but you know, I like our little podcast. We get to talk about the things we enjoy and things we love, and that helps me and makes my life better. And so, you know, talking about things I love is always a delight.
You think that we could change things up to try to get some of that Joe Rogan audience, though? Every once in a while, we could talk about jiu-jitsu or say the moon landing was fake or something, just to try to pull in some of his demographic.
If I knew anything about how to appeal to an audience, to a greater audience, I imagine I would have done it by now. But I do not possess that skill nor have that skill. I'm what do you want? I'm a 47-year-old white man. Yeah.
Well,
the fact that I'm on a podcast is amazing.
I think it's required by law for middle-aged white men, but yeah, I feel you. All right, so Transformers 1.
Yes.
I'm going to play the trailer with the sound off so I don't get a copyright strike from YouTube because, you know, they like that.
Yeah, we can talk over it.
Yeah. All right, let me give you my take because it's going to be way shorter than your take. Transformers 1 is 2 movies welded together. The first half is a standard DreamWorks wacky misfit buddy comedy. And it's not bad, but it feels exactly like a DreamWorks buddy comedy. They're these 2 wacky friends who have a shit job, and one's always getting the other one into trouble. One's more responsible, one is more goofy, and they bond over things they love, and they get into wacky hijinks like jumping into races they really shouldn't be in, and getting in trouble at work. And that movie is welded onto a more serious film with themes of betrayal and hope and asking questions about what the individual's role in society is. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think that my kid really loved the first third of the movie and kind of just went along with the remaining hour when he was cool. And there's still had jokes in there here and there, but when there's a character who gets knife hands and says, "I'm badassatron," and then you weld that with some of the more serious content, later in the movie. Because I mean, it's about toys that transform into vehicles, but there's a fair amount of political philosophy kind of freighted with the Transformers origin story. And I'm never going to get late again for sticking that sentence out loud, but if we're being honest about the source material, that's a true statement. So anyway, that's my thought about it. Jacob, what do you think?
No, you're absolutely right about the origins of Transformers being a political story, and what is interesting is what kind of politics we're talking about. We're talking about the politic differences of communism, and that really comes down to the differences of Karl Marx, who was all about everyone should be equal, everyone should be free to do and live as we want. So society should work for the people. And Stalin, who was a freaking tyrant and thought that there can only be peace and freedom for everyone if you have a strong hand at the top. And that's really the differences between Optimus Prime and Megatron. In this case, Orion Pax and D16.
Yeah. That I hadn't mapped them to those two people, but yeah, I can see your point there. Well, let me ask you this: you're a hardcore fan. How true was this to the old like Marvel comics lore?
This is completely different from the original.
Okay.
The old Transformers origins, they are basically constructs of uh, an alien race,
Mm-hmm.
to be a servitor race. And their origins have changed through the different iterations of Transformers over time, but shortly after the Bay films, Hasbro got together and created what was called the aligned continuity.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we got the video games like War of Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron, and the television series Transformers Prime, and what was that one with the Rescue Bots?
Yeah.
Those were all in the same continuity.
Oh, okay.
And the aligned continuity set out a new origin that Primus, who was the brother of Unicron as deities,
Mm-hmm.
became Cybertron and created the original 13 Primes to help him fight off Unicron, who was basically a destroyer god,
Mm-hmm.
whereas Primus is a creator god. And from and then you have a whole mythology about how the original 13 Primes have their mythological stories, fight Unicron, then start kind of turning against each other, and eventually give origin to the species we know as Transformers. And in that, we have the Quintessons are an entirely separate alien invader who enslaved them for a time being, much like the original origin from the Marvel comics and cartoon series. But besides that, this movie is really doing its own thing. They touch on the elements of what was established in the aligned continuity, which since it was created has become the official, this is how Transformers are in every iteration since its creation. You know, every Transformers series has been about that origin. But yeah, this one is kind of taking that idea and doing a little twist on it, because we still have the 13 primes interacting with society up until in this movie it's mentioned until 50 years previous to the film starting. And obviously the characters that we're following are new Transformers, because while they know the myths and legends of the 13 primes, they were not around when the primes were still on Cybertron 50 years ago. So Orion Pax D16, they are less than 50 years old at this point.
Just like me.
Yeah.
Because I'm way less than 50. I don't know if you look at this youthful face, but I'm like 35 tops. But we did a book. Well, Eric Bloat did a book, and then we did our version of Eric Bloat's book, and then it's a series of adventures. And we call that Valor Knights, and it's similar because it's about robots who are also vehicles, but it's different in that it's based on the Black Hack, and it is super fast to play. And we've done lots of support for it. And look at this cover, folks. Look upon it. Gaze upon its wonder. And the sample PDF here on Drive-Thru RPG.
No, we put a lot of work into this. I mean, I love Eric Bloat. Bloat Games makes fun games, but usually they make a game, and then that's pretty much it. With the exception of the Darkness and Demogorgons, or what is it called?
That's it. Yeah, it's kind of their kind of their Stranger Things.
Yeah, it's basically a modern day Stranger Things kind of game, and it's really good. And they make a lot of support for that game, and this is really good. But they have a whole lot of other games that are also incredibly fun, like Valor Knights, that they didn't do anything with. But luckily, they put it under the open game license.
Yep, there was a license.
We got to play with it. We did.
We've done all kinds of one-shots and created all kinds of characters. We have adventure paths. We have paper miniatures. We should really do T-shirts and BTT stuff. But yeah, it's fun. And the Renegade Studios, their game, it's awesome. Mwah. But our game
came out first.
Fun. Came out. They were copying us, man.
Our game came out first.
And our game plays so much faster. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but let's say, hypothetically, it's a Tuesday night for your D&D game, and Bob calls in, and his kid's sick, he can't make it. Well, goddamn, what are you going to do? Are you going to play Magic again? No, because Magic's awful. Don't feed that addiction. Pull out Valor Knights. You know what? You can have characters and be playing in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, the character creation is so simple. You roll some d6 for stats, literally pick a class, and you're ready to go.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. You should check it out. tinyurl.com/Valor Knights RPG. You can relive all that nostalgic robots who are also vehicle fun from your childhood. So.
And not only that, we got a lot of support for it. We've done entire adventures. We've got supplements with tons of villains and stuff in them. So you've got a lot of material to drop on there.
We should do body pillows next. I think. I feel the
pillows. You want me to draw? You want me to draw? Your character. You want me to draw Mega Hitch in a sexy bent over the pillow pose, presenting.
I'm just saying, there's probably an audience for it, but I don't know if we could. I don't know if TeePublic or any of those other sites is going to have that kind of thing. So, yeah. I'm just saying there's a otaku out there somewhere.
I have seen Transformers erotica.
Yeah,
and it's we'll just leave it at that. So anyway,
If you
But
did
yeah,
those movies, check it
Transformers.
out in the theaters, and it's so successful, there's going to be a sequel, right?
Unfortunately, it's not being successful.
What?
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the numbers, but they're terrible.
It
Uh,
didn't.
the 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 opening weekend was less than 100 million. It was like 97 million, and in its opening weekend, it came in as the second popular movie after Beetlejuice 2, which was a sequel, and uh, and had already been out for a week.
Oh God, I guess you're right. It's made 43 million out of its budget of 75. Oh God, okay.
Mhm.
Well, hey,
Uh,
positive word of mouth. You should go see this movie in the theater because
yeah, and here's the thing: I can only blame the advertisers,
mhm,
because the if you look at the trailer
mhm.
is literally like what Mike said earlier. It makes it look like this high this high silly kids movie where they've taken the Transformers and they're making them all wacky and tell jokes. That is, like Mike said, that is like kind of the first 30 to 45 minutes of the film, and then it gets real serious real quick. There is a clear breaking point in the film, and from here there's spoilers. They they Orion and D16 are miners who have no transformation cogs. In fact, all the miners who are getting energon from the planet have no transformation cogs, which makes them a servitor race to the other Cybertronians who have transformation cogs. So they don't care about them. They are lesser than, and they yeah, no, not minors.
All
So
right. I have some good
they
news. Go ahead.
they with no cogs, they are secondary class citizens, and they want to make a better life for themselves, improve their better life for themselves. So they enter a big race that happens, and they get they get noticed by Sentinel Prime, who is the leader of the general civilization, and because of them stepping out of place and stepping out of line, they get sent to do the worst of the worst drudge work, which is where they meet B127, who is normally known as Bublebe,
Hmm.
to because he is done by Kean Michael Peel. His voice is done by Kean Michael Peel. He is Bumblebee. He is not Bumblebee. He is Bumblebee.
All right,
Yeah.
I've got some good news for you.
Yeah.
As of October 2nd, today,
Uh-huh.
this movie has grossed 73.4 million worldwide against a budget of 75.
I hope it does better. I hope it does more. I really do. I
Yeah.
would love to see a sequel on this, because after they meet B127, they hijack a train to try and find the lost primes based on a signal they discover.
Hmm.
That they discover in the trash. So they steal a train and they make it to the surface to go on their quest, and that is the clear divide. Once they're on the surface, it is an entirely different movie. They have jokes here and there from then on, but much like the Buffy the Vampire series or most other television dramedies that focus on more serious things, but occasionally have good jokes. It is much more serious from there on, and we find out that once they get where they're going, that all Cybertronians are born with transformation cogs, all of them. So Sentinel Prime has been lying to them and stealing their cogs when they are forged to create a subservient secondary class.
You're giving the whole plot away, buddy.
I told them there would be spoilers,
We said
and
spoilers.
I have a major reason as to why there needs to be a sequel to this.
What is your reason?
If the primes have only been gone for 50 years, and there are transformers like Sentinel Prime who are around that are older than 50 years, they are complicit in the creation of an entire secondary citizen class for their own betterment.
Do you see that being applied to the next movie?
To see the aftermath of this movie, where they are tracking down the other people who engaged in the conspiracy to create the cogless miners.
Yeah, I was wondering whether we're going to go with this because it's really a complete movie on its own, but it's obviously set up for you could start a whole new narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it follows the narrative of what the aligned continuity set up in that Megatron is not necessarily evil just to be evil. Megatron is the hero that went too far and eventually became the villain. In the aligned continuity, Megatron is a miner. Orion Pax, his friend, is a data clerk who helps him find his voice with speeches. He writes speeches for D16 to speak to the people that against their society, because what's going on is called functionalism, in that your what you transform into determines what you do in society forever, and that's in the aligned continuity. So it leads to people having worse lives than others simply because of what they are born as. And Megatron fights against this society, and Optimus Prime helps him because he believes that everyone should be equal. And then the war starts. They start seeing that Orion is doing is doing all the speeches, so they start awarding all the glories to Orion and offer him a prime rank. And Megatron sees this and is like, no, me. I was saying all this. How dare you? How dare you? My best friend turn against me. And that pretty much starts the war, because he sees all the inherent unfairness that has happened and just loses it, and starts a civil war that leads to the destruction of his entire planet.
I got nothing to say other than clearly capitalism was really the enemy of Transformers, and we didn't know it. But yeah, I hope there's a sequel. It'd be nice. I got a feeling this movie's just going to break even, so it'll be a toss-up whether they do something else. I got a feeling if they do something else, it's going to be more kid-friendly, toy-friendly.
Well, we already know that the next Transformers movie is going to be attached to the G.I. Joe movie. That has already been announced.
Okay, so that's not going to be animated then.
No, that's going to be live action.
Okay, well, all right. When is that coming out?
As far as I know, there is no current release date for that. But I imagine since they've been announcing it, probably 2 years, 3 years, maybe.
Okay, all right. Well, hopefully we'll see it soon. All right. Well, final thoughts.
This is a great movie. Go watch it in the theater. That way, we can hopefully maybe get a sequel. Don't just see it once. See it 2 or 3 times if you have the means. I know money's thin, everyone, so do what you can. But ultimately, if you're a fan of Transformers, do not skip on this. You want to see it. You really do. It is better than what the trailers made it out to be. If you think, well, I've heard this and that about that, don't ignore it. Go watch it. It's good. It really is.
You know, I gotta wonder, with as successful and long running as Rescue Bots was, why wouldn't they do a kids movie based on that part of the IP? You know, just a thought.
Yeah.
And some folks are saying one reason that the box office tanked 68% the second week was the Wild Robot came out, which is another robot-themed family entertainment, but this one was more deliberately aimed at families. And,
well, it's freaking Pixar. What do you want?
That's everyone learns a lesson, and
and in the classic Pixar, do robots have feelings? Yes, they do. Transformers have had feelings since the 1980s.
Yeah. So anyway,
replicants have had feelings since before that.
Poor replicants. Speaking of people with hearts, our buddy Chuck, once again, 10yearold.com/Chuck Hart. Help out Chuck. He's a good guy. He can use a hand.
Yes,
and also,
help Chuck out.
If you like those little games you play with paper and pencils and dice, and you like robots who are also vehicles, tinyurl.com/Valor Knights RPG. You can check out our take on that stuff with some beautiful art from Mr. Blackman here. Well worth your time, and it plays fast. Like I said, someone doesn't show up for D&D night, whip this out. It'll be a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And on that happy note, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks for checking out tonight, folks. We will catch you next time on the BAMF podcast. See ya.
Y'all have a good night.